You're biased, you say? Let's Michael Nip? And Christy Lewis. Objectivity exists. I don't know. Let's ponder these things. Hello, I'm Pete. This is the Ponderings of Pete because I definitely don't have an ego. Let's talk about what's been going on for the past few week or so. A bit ago, Michael came to me as a soundboard, bounced a few things off of me. I was like, gave him some feedback, gave him some thoughts, and that produced this video. I'm biased. Dramatic title, I think. And as a result of that video, Christy Lewis at Dos Kids in Space decided to do this. And, she says she doesn't do call-outs, but she did a call-out. And said, I'm calling you on your bowl. Objectivity does exist, Michael, so I don't know. And, I've been following this and talking to them both in Discord and in the comment section and all this jazz. And I decided to make my own video. So go ahead and check out their videos first, because that's probably good for some background on where I'm coming from with some of this stuff, even though I'm going to start from the beginning-ish. So let's do some pondering. One thing, I'm going to, with all sides of the argument, I'm going to start with definitions. Because definitions are important. That's why I have these notes up here. Because, definitions are very important when you're debating something. I personally have seen many discussions that are thrown off the track, essentially, and worthless because two people are defining the same thing differently, or, they're arguing from different bases, and therefore the argument actually makes no sense because they're saying the same thing, but that's another story. Anyways, one of the things that came up in Michael's comment section was the difference, not just between subjectivity and objectivity, but the difference between objectivity and being factual. So Michael stated that in his mind, factual and objective are basically the same thing. He doesn't have much of a disconnect between those. And I think being factual and objective, especially after looking at the definitions and stuff, are definitely different. So let's start with factual. So what is a factual statement? A factual statement is a statement that is of something that is actually occurring based on facts. I believe this was from Oxford something. It's concerned with what is actually the case rather than an interpretation of or reactions to it. Conversely, what is objective? Objective is expressing or dealing with facts or conditions as perceived without distortion by personal feelings, prejudices, or interpretations. And that's from Merriam-Webster. Another one is involving or deriving from sense, perception, or experience with actual objects, conditions, or phenomenal. Intent upon dealing with things external to the mind rather than with thoughts or feelings as a person or a book. That's from dictionary.com. Objective, an objective statement versus a factual statement. Objective is inherently a judgment statement. Factual statement would be something along the lines of, the sky is blue. An objective statement, a judgment statement, we'll get to the difference between objectivity and subjectivity in a second, is the sky is pretty, or that color blue is ephemeral. Essentially, objectivity and subjectivity exist on a spectrum of judgment. So subjectivity is the quality of being influenced or based on personal feelings, taste, or opinions. Placing excessive emphasis on one's own moods, attitudes, opinions, etc. Relating to or the nature of an object as it is known in the mind as it is distinct from a thing itself. What is interesting about this is objectivity is mainly focused on the external, and subjectivity is mainly focused on the internal, the personal. Objectivity and subjectivity, an objective statement and a subjective statement, may look identical when compared to a factual statement, but they will both be judgment statements. You're inherently making a judgment about them. Objectivity and subjectivity exist solely to cause debate, because when you call something objective or subjective, you inherently are calling into question or confirming its relation to feelings, its relation to its basis per se, whether it's based on the external or the internal. So in this case, I'm going to talk more about objectivity now, because objectivity, in my opinion, is formed on something that I term social consensus. So, can there be objective statements? I say that no, you cannot have a truly objective statement. Why is this? Because you cannot truly separate yourself from your feelings. And if you're thinking about external things, since this is an externally defined term, objectivity is based on facts, external facts. Well, if you're talking about a book, if you're talking about something along the lines that is based on facts, it's always going to be based on somebody else's feelings. Because this is a review. You're inherently A, giving your opinion, and B, confirming other opinions. Now, what do I mean by that? It goes into social consensus. Societal consensus is the concept that there are things that society deems to be true because society, individuals, all the individuals in society deem to be true. And this is definitely a very flawed definition, which I may get into later, based on some of my statements later. It's essentially, objectivity can only be obtained through social consensus. Even true social consensus is impossible, other than factual statements, which then it ceases to be a consensus, it becomes a fact. Opinions that people consider facts because a majority or all of society considers them to be true. Let's take the example, Patrick Rothfuss's writing is beautiful, or even lyrical. Why is Patrick Rothfuss's writing considered beautiful? You can perceive it, you can feel it is beautiful by, the feeling that is invoked, and thus subjectively determine that it is beautiful. You can also objectively determine it based on the opinions and thoughts and feelings of other people. Not in conclusion, in book reviews, it's always going to come back to somebody else's feelings. It's always going to, is going to be an element of subjectivity in anything you say. We as booktubers, I don't even think we as booktubers should try to be objective. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We as booktubers should try to be honest. Because honestly, I don't think people come and watch booktubers because they're objective. They come because they're honest. We want subjectivity. We are social creatures. We want feeling. We want passion. We want people to tell us how they feel. So do I think that book reviews are inherently subjective? Yes, I think they are inherently subjective because of the judgment claims we make and the feelings that we feel, and simply because anything we do say in a review will be influenced by others' feelings as well, which theoretically fits the definition of objective. But even those objectives are based on subjectives. So inherently everything is subjective. That's my thought process there. Anyways, I hope this made sense. It is pretty late, my time, that I'm filming this, so I think it's going to make sense because I did practice this beforehand and think out some of the examples. Let me know what you think. I hope my thoughts form coherent things. One more thought process. Truth. I just want to say this about truth. Through societal consensus, we form objective opinions almost because so many people tell us this is the way it is. We think it's the way it is, and thus those opinions shape our feelings and shape our objectivity or subjectivity. Shape our subjectivity into something that is roughly objective. Does that make it true? No, because truth implies facts. Truth implies something that is absolute. For instance, the phrase, let me tell you what, this is a phrase that frustrates me lately. Just with society in general. There's two kind of examples. Define your own truth. And what was the other part of it? All truth is relative. All truth is subjective, rather. What are because these statements aren't saying what they actually seem to be saying. Because truth is truth. Truth is truth. Truth is factual. Truth is an absolute. What these statements are actually saying is belief. What you believe to be true is subjective. What you believe to be true is what you can define. You can't actually change truth. Truth is gravity. Gravity is true. Gravity is here. It's binary. It's either not there or there. It's there. You can change what you believe about gravity. You can say, I believe that there are millions of tiny little spren beings pulling us down towards the surface of the earth and preventing us from flying away into darkness. But that doesn't change what's actually true. You can believe it to be true, but it doesn't change the truth. The truth is always the truth. And to say that you can define your own truth is really just saying you can define your own belief. That's a mini soapbox of something. Also, what does that mean about objective and subjective truth? They don't actually exist. Absolute truth exists because truth is absolute. Objective truth really probably, you'd have to take a look at what they're actually saying, but it probably means objective belief versus subjective belief. That's my thoughts on that as a little side tangent that came up while I was thinking about this. That is all, folks. I hope this was slightly coherent. It's getting pretty late on my end. I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes, but I could probably carry groceries in them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I right? Am I wrong? What are your thoughts? Have a great night.